Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the PPC Chat Roundup. Today we have Julie back at the helm of this chat, taking us on a very timely topic, and we're talking about what now, navigating ad platform decisions. Now this is off the back of, Mr. Zuckerberg himself sharing a post saying that they are going to stop fact checking, so using their third-party tool, their fact checking program, and moving to a community notes model. And I'm not sure about this. I know Greg Finn online was like, he doesn't see any problem with that. He loves community notes and he wants to hear what everybody has got to say about everything. And I don't know. I think that would just lead to a lot of noise and a lot of people who need better education. And I'm not saying anyone is below any education level, but some people just need better education in an area that they're going to start talking about before they talk about it. And that's just my position on it. I don't know. It's not like my opinion is going to change anything, but I don't see that working well myself. But anyway, let me not jumpstart on what our conversation is going to be today. We're going to be talking about what we feel about that for Meta and the different platforms. I've even talking about the likes of TikTok and on Twitter, how it compares to how it makes us think about when Mr. Musk himself took over Twitter and what that did. So we're going to be talking about opinions of it, whether that has given us pause in terms of implementing any paid social strategy, whether we're actually going to take any responsibility in actually warning the clients about this. What does this mean for brand safety and things like that? We're going to be talking about all of that, and it's going to be very lovely and conversational. I'll be giving you my opinions. So please do sit back and enjoy. Hello and a warm welcome to this week's episode of the PPC Chat Roundup, the podcast where I round up the Slack discussion that happens on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. GMT. I'm your host Anu, and I'm recording from my studio here in London, UK, and I use this platform to share not just expert but also my ideas and considered best practices about paid media and the direction the digital industry is going in. So if you want to keep up to date with my tips and tricks in the industry and get the latest on the podcast that has been called your go-to, if you don't make it to the PPC Chat live discussions, and even if you do, then follow, share, and retweet. And that's right, Twitter, with my handle, The Marketing Anu. Yes, you can still find me on Twitter, but you can find me more so on LinkedIn by just looking for my name. I also share tips and tricks from the LinkedIn group, which is the PPC Chat Roundup, or our company page. So we'd love to find you there. Or if you're on Instagram, why don't you check us out at ppcchat_roundup to get quotes and snippets from previous episodes. Get into our second chat of the year. Last week we talked about doing research in PPC. Today we are talking about Mark Zuckerberg and the world of Meta advertising and what he's doing about censor checking information and those kind of just fact checking things. And my brain immediately went to all those posts that are really much about AI, just very AI done, and it's just clear that the information is not real. There's been, sadly, off the back of the fires that has happened in LA, you've seen some people showing an AI generated image and videos about the possibility of what could be happening and making it look a lot worse, or even glamorizing it a little bit, which is just awful. But we've got to be really careful about what we're seeing online these days, and especially that will be the case for Facebook moving forward. Anyway, enough of all my thought process about that. Let's get into the chat. We have Julie starting us off for this kind of chat. Of course, you could be someone who has just started working in the digital space, been doing it for a long time. All your ideas, all your thoughts, all your opinions are welcome. Julie goes, it's chat time. Hello and thank you for joining me. After Meta being all over the news with Zuckerberg's strange behavior and announcements, it seems like a good week to talk about how the hell we are supposed to navigate ad platforms on behalf of the brands we are working with. So she says, but first, how are we doing? So Sarah Steeman, who's led us last week, joins us saying that, I'm okay. It's cold and I'm feeling tired from winter already. Yes, so am I. Cabra as well joins us saying I'm doing well. And look out for her blog that is going to be going live on the PPC Live blog. That's coming within the next 24 hours. That's going to be up. So go to the PPC Live blog to check that out. D Pula as well says, my mental health is a lot better since I started working out regularly again. I know that feeling. I've got a steps class tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Ray Bassett joins us. as well. Yeah, let's go on to our questions today then. So yeah, Julie asks, much like Twitter before this, after their change in ownership and subsequent policy changes, do these changes on Meta cause you to feel any different about the platforms, either personally or professionally? So yeah, so much like Twitter before this, do these changes cause you to feel any differently about the platform Meta, either personally or professionally? So yeah, we have Julia herself starting us off saying, I'm disappointed, but not surprised by Zuckerberg's moves. I did read that he did a lot of this unilaterally and outside of the typical procedures they use for big changes like this. So very much of it was him that wanted this and wasn't necessarily a board meeting decision kind of thing or like a collective decision. I don't know. So Sarah goes, yes, I judge Zuckerberg, but my expectations are in the toilet now of society and capitalism. And we have Amit as well saying it just sucks because of HSM. We rely on our Instagram to provide us with leads, although infrequent. So it puts me in this weird position where I want Meta to burn to the ground for this and what happened to us in 22. But so many other businesses rely on it to generate income. Julie goes, I'm going to post the next question because it's about how or does this impact advertising. Amit then continues saying, I saw a few jokes suggesting that it must be getting a divorce or he must be getting a divorce soon because the behavior is incredibly strange. And yeah, Sarah goes same on the divorce thing. Robert Brady goes, as the controlling shareholder, he can do whatever he wants, but it feels so US centric for a platform that services 3 billion people all over the world. The US is only 10% of the user base. Thought it's probably over half the revenue. Yeah, although it's probably half of the revenue, I think he meant, yes. Angelico's great point, although I read that the EU is slowing its roll on tech suits and enforcement too. I will try to find that and share the story. Please paywalled on the Financial Times website though. River Minkoff goes, I'm actually considering participating in the Meta blackout next week, though it will be hard and though it's part of my business because the policy changes are truly frightening. Every time I read something now, I wonder if it's real, right? Julie goes, I know, Riva, like each story I see, I feel like if this were a movie, it should be set back to the writers as too much. And Nava goes, I'm disgusted by this move, and honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that Facebook and Instagram are so critical to my job and dog rescues, I'd move on from all Meta platforms. That said, I think there's something to be said for keeping our communities and keeping on an air out for what's being said on those platforms. I will be participating in the blackout, including WhatsApp. Oh, there is going to be a blackout next week. Oh, Lord, I wonder what that means for our community group, especially because we've got the PPC Live WhatsApp group there. Riva Minkov goes, the short answer is that Meta has been a hellscape for vulnerable folks for years. This only codifies what has been the practical situation. And Ray Bassett goes, yeah, I'm very disturbed by this move personally. I'm a domestic violence survivor, and I personally saw how extremist masculine material on social media radicalized my ex and made my situation worse. Very disturbed and disgusted and professionally hate that I have to still do Meta ads for a living. So I'm kind of disassociating the two things in my mind. Oh, Lord. That's real. And we then have Julie taking us on to question 2 saying, has any of last week's happenings with Meta given you pause over continuing to recommend advertising on their platform? If so, why and how? And if not, why not? A lot of people are making decisions based on ethical issues. I see a lot of people saying that they're not going to use AI for anything because of the ethical issues. And I get that because you can't argue it, because I do feel like you shouldn't really be extreme on one end or the other, say you're never going to use it or say that's all you use and everything is AI optimized. But when it comes to the ethical issues, everybody has got to make their decision for themselves. Julie responds saying, this is so hard because from strictly a moral standpoint, I want to tell every brand to stop spending on Meta platforms. But from a business standpoint, many can't just stop and have their businesses be fine. Amit goes, generally, I want to stop advertising with them after our hacking, but clients don't care about the fact that the platform was hacked and they absolved themselves from any liability by putting banners on my account about how I didn't have 2FA set up. That's a lie. They just want to know how I'm going to increase their bottom line. The issue is that too many businesses built their entire business digitally and solely rely on ads. They didn't do the organic work because they didn't see the need to. Absolutely. Building that brand awareness and building that brand value and loyalty with people is what's more important right now than relying on social platforms. Sarah goes, yep, some will stop. Julie goes, I do think it's a prime opportunity, though, to bring up the diversification discussion with clients. Yep. Amit goes, I think saying some is a reach. Very few will stop. Agreed. But I just see a lot of resistance from clients. If Meta is working, why would we stop? Go somewhere else to find out if it could work for us. And Sarah Stimmer goes, if the public shame is loud enough, I am too optimistic that people are good. Julie goes, yes, businesses are first and foremost about their bottom lines, and I can't fault them for that. Does shame even exist in this day and age, right? Yeah. Sarah goes, barely, but you are right. Amit Cabra goes, I feel that naturally I'm optimistic about things. When it comes to these platforms, it's the exact opposite. I finished reading Sapiens a few weeks ago, so my mind has started accounting for how Sapiens were before the agricultural, scientific, technological revolutions, etc. This feels very in line with history, ill fall. So yeah, what do you think about that? Have you read that book, Sapiens? I saw a friend have it, and I was like, oh Lord, that seems a bit too dark and gloomy for me. I don't know, I might check it out. Julie then goes, I do think there will be brands who are interested in finding alternatives. So some offerings in that area could be a good bet for PPCers. Sarah goes, yeah, TikTok, LinkedIn, they have plenty of their own issues, hurdles, etc. Julie goes, I also think it is easy to be on autopilot as far as which platforms you advertise on, which is great while things are great, but can quickly become a problem if there is a scandal or if it gets bought out or if it just stops working as it has. The TikTok question will be resolved one way or another within a week, at least as far as a ban going into effect. That is set to happen on January the 19th without intervention from the courts. Wow. Robert Brady goes, if my clients' prospective customers are on Meta, I'll keep using it. However, this has a high likelihood of impacting certain groups' usages of the platform, so some advertisers will need to get more serious about diversifying their channel mix. Don't just dump it all into Google either, because that would be a knee-jerk reaction of many. And Julie goes, yeah, definitely something to watch, Roberts, to see if there's actually an exodus from Facebook in particularly, and then advising clients accordingly. Riva goes, we haven't been on Meta in a while, but as long as the client's audiences is on there and they want to advertise there, then I think it'll still be something that makes sense in the marketing mix. Meta has shot itself in the foot a lot with some of its changes and measuring issues. I keep hearing it's not performing as well, and if that's the case, I'd rather put money elsewhere, but that's a different question, arguably, than what you're asking. So, yeah, Riva is still going to go on the whole mindset of if it works, she'll continue. If it doesn't work, she won't continue. And there have been lately times it looks like that it's not been working well. So that's why they've not been using it, not because of the whole ethical issues and fact-checking issues. Navel as well responds saying, keep an eye out for Google and Amazon spend to increase. Off this news, TikTok is finished. Meta is going to be a brand risk, but like others shared, some won't care. Yeah, and brands who stay on Meta because that's how they were built. We're still building our paid social tools, and I suspect they'll even be more helpful than prior to this announcement. Reed goes, age targeting is insufficient, but for hitting millennials to boomers, you can't do much better than Meta. Yeah, especially for the boomers. I'm not sure about millennials. We've moved, I feel, to Threads and Twitter and the likes. And so, yeah, he continues, Instagram has a stranglehold on a wide variety of demographics that never went to other social media platforms. I hate to say it, but most people don't care about moderation because they never saw it either direction. If the product degenerates significantly, that's going to be where problems come in. But that's more likely going to be the AI position that any terms of TOS changes than any TOS changes. What knows what TOS means? Anyway, Ray Bassett goes, yeah, from a moral standpoint, I would love to not recommend it, but I have some clients who rely on Meta ads and have great success there, so I can't walk away from it. I have had one client walk away from the platform after the announcement. So yeah, someone has done it. I wonder who will follow suit. We then go on to question 3, where Julie asks, do you think as advertising managers we have any responsibilities in where our clients or brands advertise, or do we just do what the clients and brands want no matter what? I think it's best to advertise. I think it's best to advise. That's what we're there for. We're not just there to be pencil pushers, and we're not just there to implement the things that an AI bot can implement. I think we should need to be strategic and let people know what brands are doing, how advertising on the platform will affect it, and be truthful and not just do it based on our own personal bias. We should do it based on what the announcements are, what the data could show. But yeah, it's definitely down to the client where they want to spend the money. And if we can help them do it efficiently, I think we should do it. Julie goes, I want to say yes to this question, but it is more complex than that. I do think we have a responsibility to keep the brands we work with as safe as possible in where their ads run. Absolutely. But each business will have a different tolerance for what that zone of safe is. And while we can offer opinions on that, the client will have the final say as to where they want their ad dollars spent. Absolutely. So yeah, Sarah as well goes, not really, but yes. For example, working with big brands, they all wanted prime time on specific channels, but could only afford 3 a.m. on another channel. To an extent, performance marketing changed this. If the advertiser demands something, then we can do it, but we could advise not to. Robert Brady responds here, I have my own standards and I won't work with clients that put me in a position where I feel I'm compromising those standards. So that will always depend on what your integrity level is, what your standards are, and whether you work for a company or you own your own business. I know Robert owns his own business, so yes, I know he can make those decisions. He continues, that said, I feel like it's my responsibility to have these discussions with clients, make sure they understand the situation and the trade-offs. Many are too busy to stay current on this kind of stuff, then they can make a fully informed decisions for their businesses. River goes, I agree with the not really but yes answer. We have an obligation to advise our clients. That doesn't mean they have to listen to us. I also agree with Robert that some of us have the luxury of being able to pick and choose our clients and make sure that our values align accordingly. So yes, make sure the values align. And that needs to be done as early as the pitch process. Filter out the kind of people who will follow your values, who share your values, as opposed to people who maybe not want you to do outright unethical stuff, but things that you think are bad for their business and bad for good online relationships. Julie as well says, these same questions came up with the devolution of Twitter, but because Twitter was such a small advertising platform, it was easier to ignore for many. Meta, though, is a juggernaut, so it is all a lot more front and center. Robert Brady goes, at some point, I would anticipate that I'll part ways with clients over their decision in some of these areas. It's a price I'm willing to pay. Amit goes, I'm in the yes, but also no camp. Like Riva and Sarah mentioned, we have the responsibility to advise clients on what we feel is best, but at the end of the day, they're paying the bill, so ultimately, it's their decision. Reed goes, if you have the clout with a client, you should point them to the local sources, point them to things that will actually make them money. Every one of the major outlets is evil. There are only 6 media companies in the USA, but I'm not going to go ham on someone who's handed a media plan and told to execute it. I've talked about how digital has won, that digital is now a core part of media spends. It's going to take years for people to filter out of a media network that's been a top 3 digital network for 14 plus years. Nava as well then goes, it is a place of privilege to say that we have full control. I have spent my entire career putting on happy face around certain placements and tactics. The choice comes in who we work with and for. The lesser evil of being willing to be on these morally objectionable platforms in order to help humans employ teams and help their customers seems an acceptable trade, but it is not the ideal. Jeffrey Hain responds saying, I agree we need to discuss and educate clients on the pros and cons of different platforms and provide our expertise on what we've seen work or not. We also have to ask our clients about the audience that buys their products, how many will be negatively impacted by a new discourse on Meta, and do they find it an acceptable business risk to alienate a percentage of their customers? We then go on to question 4, our second to last question. So Julie goes, is brand safety a concern of yours and or your clients or stakeholders? If so, is it a primary concern? So yes, a very important question here because that's what it is all about, especially with paid social. There's very much a thought process of brand safety that you always have to think about, especially when facts are not being checked. Sarah Stevens starts us off saying, I definitely think it's a concern, and the clients that approve every piece of ad copy in case they make a false claim are also the ones that don't want to be beside hate speech. River goes, yes, not for every client, but in particularly, it's a large concern for the bigger, more global clients. He goes, yeah, good point, Sarah. And Sarah goes, that's why I'm optimistic. Julie goes, I think it is for the most practical of reasons first and foremost, and that is none of us wants to get a scathing email or voicemail about why our ads showing next to XYZ terrible thing, or against information that is actually totally just not true. Aren't people going to be worried about that as well? She continues, I'll also say that brands can have quite the tolerance for questionable things if they're making money off that network. Amit goes, I feel like my mind is in a very negative space when it comes to Meta, and I have evidently little faith in folks when money is involved. Like Julie and Sarah said, it's going to take a lot of people taking the action of sending emails or speaking about it on social platforms to get anyone to start thinking about it more. Sarah goes, well, and big brands already have a brand awareness. They can go to CTV, connected TV. Julie goes, yeah, it is interesting and there is no advertising at play, but on Threads, people are leaving in droves this week, and they are indicating that they are deleting all Meta products too. Yeah, it's not even just about what Zuckerberg and his team have been doing. It's the fact that there's a lot of trolling that has really picked up in the late last year and early this year. So appalling. River as well says, yeah, to Amit especially, saying what bothers me is that I'm still not sure X cares, and so many people have already left there. He goes, I just wonder how much, though. The one lesson I learned from the election is that a lot of people say they're going to do stuff they have no intention of doing. Very fair point. You think from the talk and everything that you heard people saying, you'd think, yeah, Mr. Trump wasn't going to get back in power. Julie goes, I have also seen a lot of people express some variation of the sentiment. I really would like to leave Meta, but I can't because those folks are talking about much more limited usage rather than deleting. He goes, yeah, I think something more sinister is happening there, which is why they don't seem to care. I'm not sure the same could be said about Meta. I think they would. Julie goes, time will tell in daily active user numbers for Meta. And I think that is where we need to be paying attention, because at the end of all of this, clients will ask about performance dips, and we need to be prepared to answer our thoughts as to the why in the coming months if it materializes. He goes to, yeah, Julie saying that's a great point and something we all should be keeping an eye on. Nava goes, yes, but not in e-commerce tends to take the business from wherever. Reed goes, brand safety has two avenues, one of which is flawed and the other is underbaked. The first avenue, the flawed one, is that you don't want to run on sad news. This is the kind of stuff that prompted, for example, the dissolution of Jezebel Geomedia. Study after study shows that the real consumer does not attribute the advertising to the stories next to it, and everything else is just ads, people yapping. The second one, allowing the money, is much more insidious and difficult. How was Steve Bannon making money from Google after he was banned from the platform? How are far-right organizations funded digitally? What does it mean when you're running on weird spammy kids program on YouTube? Why benefit from what placement? Who benefits from what placements? So it is less a question of, is a platform safe? To me, it's a question of, is your media backing the POV and positioning of your company? You say in all your marketing that you support the homeless, you do a huge push every year, but you spend 15 grand a month on a channel that gives 1.5 million a year to organizations pushing for weaker tenants' rights and criminalization things. What does that mean? How might we better represent our company's values? Wow, that was a mouthful. I hope you were able to keep up with that. So yeah, very strong views there from Reed. And he goes, that underbaked part is because that is super difficult to figure out in real time. So Ray goes, that's an interesting question. I have one big Meta spender who wouldn't like to be alongside hate speech one little bit. Their business is very values driven, but it is still the best way for them to find their market, and there are no viable alternatives. So we come on to our last question of the chat. where Julie asks, which ad platform do you think are the safest for brands to be advertising on today? What makes you feel they're safer than others? Honestly, yeah, I would say this is what Julia says, Google search and Microsoft search, because you have a bit more control. As much as seems like, yeah, AI and search terms, we're not seeing search terms, and there's a lot of responsive search ads and performance max. You do have a bit of control, more control than what Facebook are suggesting here, what Facebook are proposing to be doing. So yeah, I would definitely say Google search are probably the safer platforms right now. She goes, and LinkedIn are probably the safe place to advertise now. So yeah, so that's Julie saying Google search, Microsoft search, and LinkedIn are the safest place to advertise right now. And I'm specifying search because display or PMax is not as safe as straight up search advertising, which is true. Amir goes, I was actually just thinking about those three myself. Robert goes, I would add Pinterest. Dava goes, Pinterest lost its way with AI. Microsoft is the gold standard, followed by Google for brand safety. I wish Amazon could be included here, but the copycat product tactics is still a problem. Reed goes, yeah, local TV stations and news stations, NPR or public broadcasting, big media like NYT or to a lesser degree Vox. Stuff that doesn't connect into the major platforms, local stuff like indie rags. And the reason why I say that is because the payment is uncomplicated. What you're getting, who benefits. Search is relatively uncomplicated until you get into the what are these companies doing with this money, right? Ray as well goes, yes, I think only search ads are fully safe territory. Although what I'm not worried about is attribution. We always talk about this attribution thing, how we can't very much measure it. It's very hard to measure and say what were definitely the different platforms that affected search. But if advertisers stop spending on social, and advertisers stop spending on some social channels and stop having as much branding activities, what I call those, it will really be hard for search to actually be successful as well. Yes, there's a lot to think about there. On that note, we come to the end of our chat. I hope you got some great takeaways and found that very insightful. What are your thoughts? Are you happy with Mr. Zuckerberg? Are you going to be talking to your clients about these issues? Do they match your values? Will you be promoting people to keep working on Meta, or will you be advising against it with facts on Facebook to be very awry very soon, and brand safety being, very possibly low very soon? So I hope you found that insightful, and I hope you found that to be a very engaging format for us to talk about the issues that we're having today. If you have any feedback about the podcast or even any correction, please, share them with me. My Twitters are open, my DMs are open, or as well on Threads and on Blue Sky. I'm still on those channels. I'll be thinking about doing that blackout next week, but to be honest, I doubt it. I have a problem. So it would also be great for all the long-standing or brand new listeners to give the podcast a review. It really helps. Or leaving a review on Apple or Podchaser and several other platforms. If you just go to linktree.com/ppcchat_roundup, yes, you'll be able to see that there. And of course, we've got to mention that, we've got PPC Live number 15 coming to London in a few weeks, just over 3 weeks now. We're going to be in Victoria at the beginning of February. 3 fantastic speakers. We're going to be talking about GA4. We're going to be talking about customer journey. We're going to be talking about ad copy in the world of AI and how to do testing well, and all these topics that you really need to be focusing on in 2025. So just go to ppc.live for your tickets that are only £49. Look at, if you go at Brighton SEO, as much as I love them and as much as they're a great partner to work with during the Brighton SEO scene, our ticket prices are a lot cheaper. It was very fun, lovely networking event, and you get to share your voice as to what you're having issues with as well. I call PPC Live the event where we're going to be looking for the next PPC influencer, and that could be you if you've got great ideas to share with us. So we'd love to see you there. And if you want to sponsor, please do get in touch as well. Finally, remember, for your campaigns and businesses to glide smoothly, there's a lot of hard work needed beneath the surface. So keep your swans kicking. Bye, and speak to you next week.